Today, we're gonna do some math, guys. So, if you guys have been, with me for a while, you guys know that one of the things I like talking about the most is cap space. I don't know, for some reason I like cap space. Like, I'm not a big fan of math, but cap space is kind of fun to keep up with. So, today what we're gonna do is we're gonna take a look at the Texans cap space and really see how much money we really have to spend. I see some people that are completely terrified because they think we don't have enough cap space. And I also see some people that seem to think that we can go and pretty much go sign everyone for whatever price and, because we have enough cap space. So today we're going to just take a look at the cap space and see how much we really have to spend. Now, at the moment, the Texans have $78 million cap. That sounds like a lot, because it is a lot. Now, before I proceed, the Texans don't have $78 million on the dot. They have $78 million with some change. But for this exercise, I'm just going to round it to the closest, millionth. So, yeah, we're sitting here at $78 million. And one of the moves I see the Texans making pretty soon is cutting Kevin Johnson. If the Texans don't cut Kevin Johnson, I will be shocked. Now, some people seem to think Kevin Johnson's coming back. Some people seem to think Kevin Johnson can be traded. I'll tell you right now, Kevin Johnson has no trade value. And the next thing, I'm going to tell you why I think Kevin Johnson's getting cut. And I think it's pretty much confirmed in my opinion. Now, again, this is just my opinion. So, anything can happen. Now, the reason I think Kevin Johnson is getting cut is because he wasn't brought back off of IR. Now, if you rewind a few months prior to him, being put on IR, Kevin Johnson's 5th-year option was picked up by the Texans, meaning he pretty much got a 1-year contract extension, and for that 1 year being this upcoming year, Kevin Johnson is getting $9 million. Now, the only way that $9 million becomes guaranteed is if Kevin Johnson is hurt. So, the Texans opted to leave Kevin Johnson on IR so Kevin Johnson didn't suffer a legitimate injury, more than just a concussion, which is just an injury he can come back from immediately. Like what if he would have torn his ACL, then the Texans would have owed him $9 million for this year because he was injured, and the $9 million becomes guaranteed at that point. So the Texans smartly held him out for the rest of the year, in my opinion, so they can cut him here pretty soon, so they can save themselves some $9 million in cap space, and that $9 million might come in handy. Now, so if you have $78 million, then obviously you add the $9 million that you're getting by cutting Kevin Johnson. Now you're sitting at $87 million. So the Texans could realistically get to $87 million if they cut Kevin Johnson, and if they make some other cuts, they can, create some more cap space. But personally, I don't see them making any other cuts. I would like them to cut Ryan Griffin. I think they saved $2 million, which isn't much, but, I don't like Ryan Griffin, so, why not? But, anyways, in this, I'm just cutting Kevin Johnson. That's, like, the only legitimate cut I see them making. So, the Texans could be sitting with $87 million. Now, obviously, you gotta re-sign your own players. And the big name for the Texans is Jadeveon Clowney. Now, if you guys have been following me, you guys know that I want Clowney back. I love Jadeveon Clowney. Now, we're not here to discuss whether Jadeveon Clowney should be re-signed or Jadeveon Clowney should be franchise tagged or whatever. In my opinion, I think Jadeveon Clowney should be extended. I don't think they should put the franchise tag on him, because the more you wait to pay him, the more you're going to end up paying anyways. So pay him now instead of, waiting till next season, and then you're going to have to pay him even more. So in my opinion, you pay him now, and I think Clowney is probably going to get somewhere around $19 million a year, which in my opinion, that's a good price for him, because I know a lot of people are going to say, what, Clowney does not deserve, J.J. Watt money, Khalil Mack money, Aaron Donald money. He doesn't, and 19 mil a year isn't Khalil Mack money, isn't Aaron Donald money. Now, people need to understand this. The market is constantly changing for players. So, for example, J.J. Watt got his contract back in 2014 or 2013. There is not one player in this league that has outperformed J.J. Watt from that run J.J. had from 2012 to 2016. No one has done what Watt has done, but yet there's a bunch of players that are getting paid more than J.J. Watt. That includes Khalil Mack, Von Miller, Olivier Vernon, Aaron Donald, and at some point even Ndamukong Suh. In my opinion, none of those guys should have even been paid anywhere near to what JJ made. But, the market was set with JJ, and constantly, new players show up, good players show up, and they want to be paid as the best player, even though they're not the best player. But, regardless, the price for players is constantly rising. That's something people need to understand. So Clowney's going to get paid, and it's the Texans' fault. If the Texans would have re-signed Clowney last year, he'd be getting like 17 mil. But they decided to wait, and now they got to pay him more. And if they wait again, then next season they're going to have to pay him even more. So they got to pay him now, in my opinion. So right now I'm giving Jadeveon Clowney 19 mil a year on average. Now keep in mind, contracts, the amount, like, for example, if Clowney were to get a $100 million contract, the amount doesn't matter. What really matters is the amount that they get per year on average, and the amount of that is guaranteed. For example, if Clowney got a $100 million contract for 6 years, that really wouldn't be much, And, what if like only 30 mil of that was guaranteed? So don't freak out if you guys see 100 mil, because, again, what really matters is how much they get on average for a season and how much, he gets in guaranteed. So now, if you subtract 19 mil from 87 mil, you get 68 mil. So the Texans have 68 mil to work with after re-signing Jadeveon Clowney. In my opinion, and this is just my opinion, the Texans will choose one between Kareem Jackson and Tyrann Mathieu. I don't know which one it will be, but I don't think both of them will be bad because they essentially play the same position. Now, I don't think Kareem Jackson or Tyrann Mathieu are, going to break the bank, because there are way better safeties than them out there. I think both Kareem Jackson and Tyrann Mathieu are worth about the same. And in my opinion, both of them are worth 9 mil a year. Now, Kareem Jackson, in my opinion, is a better player, but he's also the older player. So I don't really know who the Texans are going to choose to bring back. But they're only going to bring one back. So, let's just say Tyrann Mathieu. So then you subtract 9 mil from 68 mil. Then you have 59 mil to work with. Now, you could bring back both, but then you'd have like around 50 mil if you bring them both back. So, let's just say they bring one back, so that, let's stick with 59 mil. So now, that's what they have. They got two big name free agents that they wanted to keep, Clowney and Tyrann Mathieu. Let's just say it's Tyrann Mathieu. It might not be Tyrann Mathieu, it could be Kareem. I don't really mind either, but let's just say it's Tyrann Mathieu. So now they're left with 59 mil. So from that 59 mil, you gotta subtract like another good 20 mil, because you have other guys that you gotta re-sign, guys like Kaimi Fairbairn, Christian Covington, Angelo Blackson, Brandon Dunn, Joel Heath, Brendan Scarlett. Obviously, you're not going to bring all these guys back, especially you're not going to bring back 4 defensive linemen, but I'd like to see them bring back at least 2. So, a good chunk of that money is going to go to those players. It might not be 20 mil, but, again, I'm just rounding up. I know Kaimi Fairbairn is going to get a good chunk of change, probably like 4 mil a year. And then you got other guys that are probably worth more than we think they're worth, kind of like a Christian Covington or a Brandon Dunn. And I think Brendan Scarlett might get a decent pay raise as well. And, they might bring back Kendall Lamb. You also got the 2 quarterbacks, Joe Webb and Brandon Whedon. Are they going to bring one of them back? So yeah, I'm putting it at 20 mil. So now you subtract 20 mil from 59 mil, and you got 39 mil to work with. Now, from that 39 mil, you subtract 10 mil. Why? Well, you gotta pay your rookies that you're gonna draft, you know, the ones you're gonna draft, and the guys on your practice squad. So, you know, subtract 10 mil from that. You're left with 29 mil. And, you know, just to be a little bit comfortable, from that 29 mil, subtract 8 mil. Why? You know, let's just say, I don't know, God forbid, let's say a random player gets hurt on the defense. You know, let's say it's, I don't know, Jonathan Joseph. So now the Texans got to go sign a corner mid-season. So you kind of have to leave some cap space for some mid-season signings in case of emergencies, in case a guy goes on IR and all that stuff. So realistically, after re-signing Clowney, after re-signing Tyrann Mathieu or Kareem Jackson, after re-signing some other small pieces of players, and putting some money to the side for some other needs, the Texans are left with 21 mil to spend. It might not sound like much, but I mean, if you look at the bigger name free agents, Trent Brown, in my personal opinion, he's worth 13.5 mil a year, so they can sign him. Darrell Williams, in my opinion, 12 mil. Jawan James, 11 mil a year. Ronald Darby, 12 mil a year. Le'Veon Bell, 16 mil a year. So the Texans definitely have enough cap space to bring in a star caliber player to help them out. Now, they could even bring in 2 if they want to stretch their cap a bit and, you know, not leave so much cap space. You know, like, for example, I said leave 8 mil for in-season signings. They can choose to go with 2 mil, you know? They can choose to do whatever they want, but I'm just kind of keeping it on the safe side and leaving it at 8 mil to leave a little bit more cap space so they can spend mid-season in case, you know, an unforeseen injury happens. So I do think the Texans have enough cap space to bring in some key players. For example, they could technically bring in, you know, for example, a Trent Brown and a Jason Verrett on a 1-year prove-it deal, or, you know, Trent Brown and, for example, I don't know, even Le'Veon Bell. Honestly, you could bring in Trent Brown, Le'Veon Bell. I know if you add those numbers up, you do get 29 mil, but you got to keep in mind, if the Texans bring in Le'Veon Bell, they're going to cut Lamar Miller, and cutting Lamar Miller saves 6 mil in cap. So the Texans definitely have some breathing room. I know at the end of the day, when I say that the Texans have, like, realistically, like, 21 mil to spend, it don't seem like much, but trust me, with that 21 mil, you could make a huge difference in this roster. You can bring in a star player in a couple smaller pieces. You can bring in like 4 small pieces. You can bring in 2 star players if you want to stretch it. You could do all sorts of things with that 21 mil. And again, you could even cut some players like a Ryan Griffin. You can cut, like I said, Lamar Miller. There's other players you can cut. So yeah, that's the amount of cap space we kind of really have to spend. 21 mil. You could probably stretch it to like 25 mil if you really want to. That's realistically the amount we have to spend, which again, it's more than enough to bring in players we need, players that can help this team. And if you're going to be one of those people that are going to freak out about the future, what about re-signing Deshaun Watson, what about doing this, what about doing that, we're fine. Why? Okay, picture it this way. Say the Texans spend all their cap space, you know, just all of it. They have literally 0. Spend it all. Well, next season, guess what happens? Cap space on average these days is increasing by 10 mil a year. So, boom, Texans have 10 mil right there. Okay, Joseph's contract is up, and Lamar Miller's contract is up. That saves up between the both of them like around 13 mil. So that's an extra 13 mil right there. So now you got 23 mil. You see where I'm getting at here? Players come off the contracts. Yes, you do got to pay other players, but I mean, Kevin Johnson was a bust. We don't have to pay him. Will Fuller, he's injury prone. We're not going to end up paying him that much. DJ Reader shouldn't demand that much. Nick Martin's not going to demand that much. So we're in a good spot with our cap space. We're good. Do not worry about that. Don't freak out. The Texans are a team that does well in managing their cap space. So I think we'll be fine. And yeah, that's all I have for you guys for today. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.